channel. Today I wanted to do an Army Girlfriend update. There's a lot of things that have changed since I did my last video, and there's a lot of things that have occurred in the 2.5 years that my boyfriend has been in the military. So I wanted to start with after AIT, because if you want to see my thoughts and my experience with basic training and AIT, I do have videos about that, so I'll link them below so y'all could watch them. So I'm gonna talk about AIT. So like right after AIT, my boyfriend got 10 days leave, but basically 12 those days were just spent traveling from Virginia to California, and then from California to North Korea, where he got stationed right after AIT. So he arrived on a Thursday, and then that Saturday morning we got married. It was a really small ceremony, nothing big, nothing fancy. There was no party. We basically got married. It was his close family, my close family. There literally no friends, just family. And when I mean close family, I mean like close family. My dress was from Ross. It was like on clearance at Ross. And then for lunch we actually ended up going to a buffet, and that was it. Nothing big. One thing to note is that we did not end up moving together. He, like I've mentioned, lives in the apartment. His family lives in the apartment above mine, so he went back to his family's apartment. I went back to my mom's apartment, and we still saw each other every day, but we did not move in together. So the first year of marriage, he was in South Korea the whole time. He did not come for Christmas. He didn't come for New Year's. He didn't come for my birthday. We basically celebrated nothing. He arrived on July 5th, 2018, so we did not celebrate the first year of marriage either. He left to South Korea a week after we got married. So in South Korea, he spent a whole year over there. Well, a little bit less than a year, but he left in July. He came back in July. He came back July 5th, and he didn't come for vacation. Because the reason why he didn't come for vacation was because the money would have been out of his pocket, so he would have had to pay for his flight to come to California and then to leave back home. And then another reason why he didn't take vacation or leave was because he planned on using it all once he came back. And that's what he did. When he came back, he had 30 days leave. In Korea, you would think like our relationship would be like good and perfect because we were not together, so there was really nothing for us to fight about. But you would be wrong. Most of our fighting while he was in Korea consisted of me not answering my phone. So we obviously, there's a time difference between South Korea and California, and I worked full-time and I did a lot of overtime, and he obviously has this crazy, super crazy work schedule where he has to wake up really, really early, and then sometimes he goes to sleep really, really late. So the only chance we had to talk was right before I went to work, or when I was at the bus. We had a chance to talk there, or right after he went to right before he went to work. So when he was going to work, it was nighttime for me, and when I was going to work, it was nighttime for him. So the only days that we actually would have a lot of time to like talk and not in little sections was on Saturdays in California, because it was Sundays in Korea. That was what our fights were basically about, me not answering my phone whenever he was able to talk, because when he was able to talk was very limited. And obviously our fights are going to be different from whatever you may experience or may have experienced. For example, he did talk to me about one of his battle buddies having marital problems that did not involve the wife not answering the phone. It went a little bit deeper, like infidelity and all that horrible stuff. But for us, it was basically just me not answering my phone, which when you think about all the issues that we could have had, that's not bad. But that was what we would fight about while he was in Korea. After Korea, he came back to California. Like I said, he got 30 days leave, which, like I mentioned, the time you spend traveling counts towards that leave time. So in total, he spent about 28 or 27 days in California. So while he was here, I was not working. My contract had ended in June. He got here in July. So for that month before he got here, I went to Mexico to visit my dad. And then I came back. I talked to him about this. Okay, if I should get a job while he's here or just not work until he leaves. And he wanted me to not work, so I didn't work. We just spent as much time as possible together because, you know, then life gets in the way again. Originally, I had no plans of moving in with him. My plan was to work full-time and pay off my debt, because I do have debt. I still have debt. So I wanted to pay that off. So I didn't want to put that financial burden on him. Even though we were married, I still wanted to be responsible for my debts and pay them off. And that was our dilemma, whether I should move to North Carolina or stay in California and work. Another thing could have been for me to go to North Carolina and get a job there. But I wanted to work in California. So I had a job interview, and he had already left to North Carolina. He lived in North Carolina at the beginning of August, and I stayed in California. I had a job interview in August, and I basically told him that, so if I didn't get the job, I would move to North Carolina with him. But if I did get the job, I would stay in California and work. And then literally a day later, I got the email saying I didn't get the job. So I told him I booked a ticket for 2 weeks after, but his birthday was coming up and he wanted me to get there before his birthday so we could celebrate it together. So I think I left August 28th or 24th. I don't really remember, but it was sometime in August. In North Carolina, I was not working. I did apply to jobs. I applied to a lot of jobs. I applied to Starbucks and Target, and then some city jobs, and then some random jobs. But nobody called me for an interview. Still haven't gotten calls for an interview. And they did send me plenty of rejection letters. So I did get, no, we don't want you letters. And at the same time, it's a good thing that I didn't get a job, because where we lived, the only transportation available to us was a car, and I didn't want to get a car, and we only had one car, which he needed. So, and when I mean no transportation, I mean no bus passed through where we lived. Like in the city there was buses, but the area where we live, a bus wouldn't pass, and everything was pretty far. We lived off base, like I've mentioned. There was no transportation, and he didn't qualify to live on base. That's why we lived off base. It was an apartment building. There was a lot of military families, so people were always moving in and out. And that was basically the first time we lived together no mom, no dad. Oh, I forgot to mention, when he moved back to California, we actually ended up moving in together. Well, he moved in with me and my family. We had a room in the apartment, and that was the first time we moved in together, but we did not live alone. And then when we moved into North Carolina, when I moved in with him, it was just me and him, no family, no friends, no roommates, just him and I. And that was the first time we were basically on our own. And like I said, I wasn't working, but he worked, and his schedule was really, really crazy. Sometimes he worked all day, and I mean all day he was busy. So sometimes he worked all day. He would leave to work like around 5:30, come back at 5, 6, 7, 8. It really varied, his schedule. So I would spend a lot of time alone. It was basically me watching TV. I watched so many shows, and then I would like clean and cook. I would just wake up to make him breakfast and then like go back to sleep. We don't have any kids, so I had nobody else to take care of other than him and me. We only had one car, like I've mentioned, and the only car that we had, he would take it with him. So we lived 20 minutes. It took 20 minutes to get to base from where we lived, so he would take the car with him. So because of that, during the day I would not go out. The only times I would go out is when he got home, and sometimes he was really, really tired. We didn't go out. During the weekends we would go out, but it wasn't every weekend, because there was a lot of times where he ended up working Saturdays and Sundays. So there was other days that I would spend basically the whole day alone. There was a few times where it was just basically me, myself, and I. Literally me, myself, and I. Once we found out that he was getting deployed, I started applying to jobs like crazy, but jobs back in California, because to us it didn't make financial sense for me to stay in North Carolina and for him to be paying for an apartment and for him to be having car payments, when I could just go back to California, get a job, just be paying my car. There would be no rent, no utility bills, no having to spend $300 on just one person for food. So financially it made more sense for me to go back to California, especially because his deployment is going to be 9 months. And I applied to jobs. I got called for a few interviews, so I was flying back and forth between North Carolina and California. I would come for an interview, stay a couple of weeks, and I say weeks because one of the interviews was in December, and like a week later it was Christmas break for him, so I just basically left a week before him. And then in January we came back to North Carolina, and then at the end of January I heard back from one of the jobs that I interviewed for, and I actually got the job, but there was like a background check thing that I needed to do. So I flew back to California, did the background check. I found out that I got the job at the end of January, and I found out that I didn't start. My official start date wasn't going to be until March 1st, which was like a whole month that I could have gone back to North Carolina. But my husband had needed to go to the field, so he was in the field for like 2 weeks. So instead I bought a plane ticket for 2 weeks after that, and then I spent the last 2 weeks of February with him, came back to California, and then he came to California as well because he got 11 days leave before deploying to Afghanistan. So he was here for approximately 9 days. During the time I was already working, so we didn't spend a lot of time together, but he spent a lot of time with his family, and I did see him at night. And then he left back to North Carolina, and I've just basically been working since then. And on April 5th, he officially deployed to Afghanistan. So the thing that I was hoping would not happen happened. He got deployed to Afghanistan. And I say was hoping would not happen was because some of his battle buddies never got deployed and they're about to get out of the military. So it would have been nice for him to be one of the lucky ones that doesn't ever deploy. But he wasn't. He left April 5th. Today is April 9th, and he is over there. So I have really nothing to say about it yet, about deployment. Just that I wish he wouldn't have gotten deployed, but he had deployed and he's supposed to be there for 9 months. So once we get to that, I'll make a video about it. So that's my 2.5-year update, technically like a 1.5-year update. And just one thing to note is that what I've experienced as the girlfriend and now wife of a soldier is obviously going to be different from what somebody else has experienced. I don't have kids. We don't have kids. So when we make decisions, when we're making decisions, it's just taking into consideration him and me, him and I. We just consider each other. We don't have to take into consideration kids that may be in school or a newborn. We're not at that step yet. Things to note, to talk about: definitely following around your soldier is a family to family basis. There's not like it's not a straight path where it's like, okay, yeah, you're leaving, okay, I'm going with you. It depends on your family. Definitely a lot of things to talk about, and that's obviously a conversation between you and your soldier. So I hope you all enjoyed this video and that it was a little bit helpful, and I will be posting the basic training and AIT videos in the links below. And if you have any questions, you could send me an email. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time on my next video.